Good evening, and thank you to be here at the European Union Film Festival in India. The festival is organized by the European Union delegation in India with the collaboration of the member states' embassies. And I'm Veronica Flora, I'm the creator of the festival, and I'm very happy that you are here in this very special session of the festival. We are here in the middle. We started in the 7th at the Indian Habitat Center with the film La Chimera, and now we will go on until the 16th of November. And we will close the festival with a film. About that we will talk also today. That is Le Roman de Jim, a French film, and but we will talk about that after. Today, we can say is the day of Spain. You know, the Instituto Cervantes we are now is the Instituto of the Embassy of Spain, and we are very happy that we can introduce you about this film, The Teacher Who Promised the Sea, about Patricia Font. She's a female director from Spain. And yesterday we were at the Indian Habitat Center, and we also entered in the theme of freedom and autonomy of teaching. The film was about a teacher, and today also we will see a film about a teacher set in the beginning of 20th century, in 1926, and beginning of the Civil War in Spain. And it's a story about, but it's a film that is also set today, because the protagonist, Laia Costa, who is one of the main and the most important actors today, is the daughter of a man who is not very well, and she tries to coming back to the story of his grandfather, who was killed in the beginning of the Civil War. But I don't want to tell you too much about the film. Just want to say that after the film we will have a very interesting panel, we can say, about from films, from books to the screen, from books to the films. And we will have the honor to have Vikas Svarup, a former diplomat and a great author, you know, Slumdog Millionaire, but about many other books. And he is here with us, and we will interact with also the director of this film, Patricia Font from Spain, and with the writer of the book that is based the French film that you will watch in the 16th. Okay, it's a little bit complicated, but the fact that we want to explore the nature of stories, and the fact that sometimes different medium, literature and cinema, interact together and create a masterpiece as Slumdog Millionaire, and also I hope films that you will watch. Okay, and now I would like just to go very quick, introducing a very important person. I would like to call here with me the European Union Deputy Head of Mission, Madame Eva Subaka. Please come here. And I leave you the floor, and then I will leave you.
Well, Namaste Delhi. I want to hear it louder. Namaste Delhi.
Namaste.
Here we go. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. What a pleasure to be here with you. I can see, actually, the room is, although I have this very bright light going right into my eyes, but it seems to me that we have a room full of fantastic people just dying to see the film today, and that's correct. Thank you for lighting up the light so I can see proper, and I'm sure we can find the place for, I'm not sure whether we can find place for everybody, but hopefully there will be some additional spots where you can have a seat. Everybody, let me just tell you what a huge pleasure is to be with you and indulge with you into the Spanish culture, a Spanish film in the Spanish Instituto Cervantes. Warm welcome to our guest, Vikas Swarup, as mentioned, a former diplomat and a book writer. We have also a great dancer and an actor, Padma Priya, and two guests who will join us online. Patricia Font, a director, screenwriter from Barcelona, whose film, as already mentioned by Veronica, we will watch tonight, and a writer, Pierrick Bailly. Ladies and gentlemen, the European Union Film Festival is a celebration of great cinema, culture, and Indo-European exchange. By offering this platform, we want you to explore, learn, surprise yourself, and feel all the emotions. After such a screening, and after actually each screening, we want you to go home, think of what you have seen, and consider if and how does it affect you. We want you to remember your experience. It's about exploring your horizons, or perhaps going beyond them. This is what art is all about. Let me say a big thank you. I want to thank Director Oscar Puchol and the team of Instituto Cervantes for hosting the screening of the films in their premises. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Institute is one of the longest, if not the longest, partner of the EU Film Festival. Please join me in saying thank you for having all of us here. Dr. Puchol.
Oscar, please.
Dear Oscar, your landmark in New Delhi and in Institute Cervantes in India has a long, long history. Please come. Oh, it's fine. Oops. Your contribution to building Spanish and European relations with India is very, very long and incredible and remarkable. In December 2024, your second posting as director of Institute Cervantes in New Delhi will come to an end. What it means also for us here in that this year festival is actually your last festival in the current posting. I can only express the wish that this is not your last posting in incredible India. On behalf of the EU delegation to India and on behalf of European Union, I would like to express words of my sincere gratitude for all support you have given to the EU delegation, to the EU Film Festival, and to every single member of the team in the EU delegation over all the years that you've been here as a director. Your openness, your kindness, and proactive problem-solving approach is priceless, especially when it comes to organization of the EU Film Festival. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure right now here to pass on a small token of appreciation from the EU delegation to you and to say big, big thank you for everything you have done for us. Thank you. Ladies, gentlemen, I started with Namaste and I heard this energy. Now I want to hear the same energy while you clap for the director of Cervantes Institute. Go on. Thank you.
Well, I hope it's dark enough not to see me blushing. Thanks very much, Eva, for this. I really appreciate it too much. Thanks very much, Eva, and the ambassador of the EU. Thanks very much, the wonderful team of the EU delegation, and I have to say again, very loud, thanks to Shruti and Poonam, who makes our life so easy. Please, a big clap for them. But I must say also thank you to the wonderful team of Instituto Cervantes, especially with at the head or with Alejandro, our administrator, but all of them, Sharmista, Siaram, Siam, all the body who is working for us, to make this possible. A big clap for the team of Instituto Cervantes. And I would like to say that for us it's really, it's a big honor to be able to host the EU Delegation Film Festival, who is going now in the 29th edition, which is not a small feat. This is a house of Spain, this is the house of the Spanish-speaking countries, but this is also the house of European countries and the house of India also. And we are so happy, to open our doors to have this auditorium full of people, and I hope you will enjoy this movie. This for me is not a farewell. I am not sad at all because I know I will keep coming to India again and again. So you will see me here. and before concluding these words, I would like to give a little bit more of context regarding the movie we are going to see today. Because it's a very special movie, as Veronica said, Veronica put it so beautifully. But it's a movie that touches our hearts very much. And I would like just to give a few, to understand the movie that we're going to see now, a little bit of chronology is necessary. Because this movie begins in 2010, when, begin the work of unearthing the mass grave in La Pedraja in Burgos. Spain, unfortunately, still has many mass graves that have been not opened so far. So in 2010, this work started, opening the mass grave in Burgos, and it was found, that there, what happened there, we find there the corpse of Antoni Benages, who is the protagonist of this film. And Antoni Benages, he was a teacher from a small village in Tarragona, by the way, is the place I come from, called Montroig. This is a Catalan province. And this teacher, he was deputed to a small village in Burgos. Now, Tarragona is by the sea, by the beautiful Mediterranean Sea. And Burgos is in the heart of Spain, in the center of Spain. So this teacher, I think it was in 1935, was deputed to teach in that village in Burgos, from Catalonia to Castilla, Burgos, and there is no sea. So this teacher promised the sea to the students. And this teacher was so innovative in his methods, he was following the methodology of a French pedagogist called Célestin Fretin. He was introducing new ways of teaching, new pedagogical methods, who were very inspiring and very innovative. And he really took the village by the storm, because the village life started to change because of this man. Okay. Finally, he was killed by the Phalangists, which were, the fascist formation of General Franco. He was killed during the Civil War. And the movie is about, the efforts of his granddaughter to recover the memories of this wonderful teacher. So it is a very special movie for us, as I said, and it talks about education, as Veronica said, but also about the freedom to educate our children in a new way and to overcome the hate that often divides us. Anyway, I hope you will enjoy this movie, and thanks very much for the selection of this movie, Veronica, because I think it's a wonderful film. Thank you very much.
Just a small thing. Okay, Oscar, I don't know how much the Instituto Cervantes will miss you, because thank you also for all these details. So, practical things, please stay after the end of the film for the panel, and then after that, the Instituto Cervantes has prepared a reception for you after out of the theater. Thank you so much, namaste, and enjoy.
So, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, but and it's about one evening in St. Claude, where Americ, the protagonist, unexpectedly encounters a lady called Florence, who happens to be a former co-worker of his and is now 6 months pregnant, but single. When she gives birth to Jim, her son, Americ steps in to support her, and they share joyful years together as a makeshift family, with Americ actually playing the father. However, everything changes when Christophe, Jim's biological father, suddenly reappears in the scene. And what begins as a potential melodrama unfolds into an odyssey of fatherhood and what it means to share the relationship of a father and a son. So, welcome Alicia and Harry, can you hear us?
Hi, hello.
Hi.
Hello, yes, I can hear you. Do you hear me?
Yes. We also have Padma, who is a translator, who is also joining us and will help us translate whatever Pierre wants to share with us.
We can say hello to them.
Yeah, I did say hello. Big hello. Welcome. Hello. So this is going to be like a truly like a back to COVID kind of a conversation. And I'm going to stick to the words here because there are multiple languages, people from across the continent. And I'm actually going to start with my very first question on, Mr. Swaroop, Q&As on which Slumdog Millionaire is mostly based, Jim's Story, and Teacher Who Promised the Sea. All of these films are extremely personal, but also they deeply reflect the society around us. All the three films kind of hold a mirror to where we come from and live in. Can each of you, Patricia, Pierre, Mr. Swaroop, take us through your own life journey from where you came from? Example of event situations which formed your thought and what brought you to making these stories. And Oscar, it would be lovely to quit in as a viewer and as a person who's been here and done such interesting translations of Indian works to actually share what you felt, what you feel about the film. We can probably start. Yeah, we can start with Pierre or Patricia. Patricia, do you want to like?
I'm sorry, I can hardly understand. There's a lot of reverberation of the sound.
Okay.
And I'm not understanding. I'm sorry. Can you repeat?
Yeah, Patricia.
Sorry.
Hello. Can you hear me? No.
It's okay if you.
Can you hear me?
I don't understand. I'm sorry. I can hear you, but I can't understand because there's a lot of reverberation in the place, I guess.
Okay.
You are too far away, I think.
I am going to do one thing. Can you hear me now?
Hello?
Can you hear me now? No. So I'm going to
No,
try.
get it down.
This is an experiment. It's my first time, so.
Here, I can hear you now.
Yeah, you can hear me now.
You now.
Okay.
Yes, too far away, I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. We loved your film. It just got viewed.
Thank you.
It got a huge applause. And thank you so much for joining us, Pierre and Patricia. So, I did share the questions with you beforehand, but let me repeat it here. both your film, Slumdog Millionaire, which is loosely based on Q&A, and Jim's story are very personal accounts, but simultaneously hold the mirror of the societies we come from and live in. Can you take us through your life journey from where you came, example of situations and events that brought you to writing and making this story?
Okay. I think you're asking me about the writing process, but I'm not sure. Is it correct?
Can you give me the context which brought you, like your own life story, which brought you to making this film?
Okay, yeah,
Thank you.
I received the script. I hadn't read the book before, and I didn't know about the story of Antonio Benales. And so when I read the script, I discovered his story. I discovered it was a real fact, a real story. So after that, I could read the book. I was backwards, and then when I got in the project, we started in the re-description of the script, because it finally, the movie now, it's not exactly like the script I first received, because we worked a long time on it when I got in the project. And of course I couldn't say no to that story. It was a beautifully written and incredible story.
Is there a personal connect to that story?
Sorry?
Is there a personal connect to the story?
My connection? I'm not understanding.
Is there a personal connect, like a personal connection to the story? Why did it strike a chord with you?
Why did I choose it? Oh, thank you. Thank you. No, not really. It's not about any of my relatives. But I do have my grandfather and grandmother were in that. Of course, at that time they were young too, like the teacher, and they went through the war after that. So in a way, even though I'm not, it is not connected to my family, it is connected to our history, or history of Spain. Everyone has some relationship with the civil war in Spain, because it wasn't so long ago. It was the war of our grandparents. So I did know a lot of stories, and of course I had some connection with it. Thank you.
Yeah. Je vous entends. Je peux vous répondre si vous voulez à peu près à la même question. Est-ce que vous m'entendez bien?
Alice, do you want me to interpret Urdu? I was asked to write in the Zoom chat.
Oui, alors.
Yeah, please do. Hanuman, you can just read it out.
Vous m'entendez là? Je peux. Ok. Bon, bah, bonjour à tous déjà, merci de l'invitation. Et ce que je peux vous dire, c'est que je viens de l'endroit où a été tourné le film. J'ai grandi dans ces paysages, ces montagnes, dans ces forêts. Mon père était artisan, il travaillait le bois et j'ai grandi avec lui dans un tout petit village, un peu coupé du monde, un peu coupé de la civilisation, comme vous le verrez dans le film. Donc j'ai passé mon enfance à explorer la forêt, les grottes, les cascades, et d'ailleurs je pense que cette enfance a participé à sonner mon imaginaire de romancier. Et ensuite, devenu adulte, j'ai commencé à travailler comme le héros du roman de Gilles, Émeric, à l'usine. Pendant une dizaine d'années, j'ai travaillé essentiellement à l'usine, aussi dans le bâtiment. Et c'est à ce moment-là que j'ai commencé à écrire. Et en fait, la plupart de mes livres se déroulent dans cette région de France qui est très rurale, où j'ai grandi et dont on parle presque jamais, ni dans les romans, ni au cinéma. Et je pense que j'ai aussi une connexion intime avec la situation familiale des personnages du film. Ça ressemble à ce que j'ai connu enfant, car mes parents se sont séparés juste après ma naissance. Ma mère est partie avec un autre homme, donc j'ai grandi avec une mère et on pourrait dire deux figures paternelles, un père et un beau-père, exactement comme Jim dans l'histoire. De toute façon, de manière générale, même si j'écris de la fiction, les récits des histoires que j'imagine sont toujours très personnels. À l'origine, voilà, on peut dire que les racines sont toujours assez intimes et je pense que j'en ai même besoin. J'ai besoin d'avoir un lien très fort, de sentir un lien fort avec mon histoire personnelle pour écrire un roman. C'est ce qui donne du sens à l'entreprise littéraire.
Can we ask Padma to say this out in English?
I have been writing it in the chat. That's what I was asked to do. So basically, I grew up in the place, in the same kind of a setting where the film is based. I spent my childhood exploring the forest, the waterfalls, etc. This fired my imagination as a novelist. After my childhood, I worked in a factory and in construction, in the construction industry for almost 10 years, just like the hero of the film and the book, Emmerich. That's when I started to write. Most of my books are set in rural settings, which are mostly neglected in French cinema. My parents separated as soon as I was born, and I grew up with a mother and two fathers, just like Jim. The roots of my stories are highly personal. I think I have to feel a deep connect with the characters of my books, and that's what gives me matter for my craft. That was more or less it.
Thanks a lot. Mrs. Yeah.
I'm typing in the chat because that's what I was asked to do. Should I do that or should I take notes and do consecutive interpretation? Okay. Okay, then I'll take notes. Okay.
So, Padma, I call myself, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I call myself an accidental writer in the sense, growing up I never had the consciousness of being a writer, I was always a reader. And I wrote my first novel, Q&A, which became Slumdog Millionaire, at the age of 42. So definitely you can't say that, I grew up with the consciousness of being a writer. And what inspired Q&A was really, first of all, the huge popularity of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. But I wanted to have an untypical contestant. And the reason for that is, growing up, and even now I think in our environment, we have this tendency that those of us who have the advantage of a decent education, who go to school and then who go to university, we always look down upon those who have not had the fortune of a good education. So in Indian households, if you see, the family will always look down upon the cleaner, the housemaid, the cook, the washerman, thinking they are ignoramuses, they don't know anything. And I was always extremely impressed by the amount of wisdom and common sense these ordinary people possess. So the main purpose behind writing Q&A with an 18-year-old waiter as the contestant is to show that the greatest teacher in the world is life itself. And those who graduate from the school of hard knocks, they know that nothing in life is ever lost, and their experiences in life can provide them the clues, not just to the questions on a quiz show, but to life itself. So that was the broad purpose behind creating this story of Slumdog.
And that's true for even Six Suspects.
So Six Suspects, you see, I have written 4 novels, and all 4 of my novels have been inspired by everyday life in India. What you see even in the headlines. So Six Suspects was inspired by the Jessica Lal case. How this young bartender was shot dead in the middle of the night in front of hundreds of eyewitnesses, and yet the man got scot-free. Till the middle class really got out onto the streets, there was a massive outpouring of, how can there be two justice systems, one for the rich and one for the poor. And then the case was retried, and he was put in jail again. So that really was the inspiration for creating and crafting the story of Six Suspects.
So most of your writing is more like mostly observational
Yes.
than experiential, like say.
Yes, exactly. Because I was a professional diplomat, so obviously I have not had the experience of murdering people and things like that, which I write about in my novels. But yes, what I have observed, and especially what I read about, in Indian newspapers, in our headlines, that really forms the basis for the inspiration for my books.
Oscar, do you want to add?
Well, first of all, I feel delighted to be sitting next to Vikash Swarup. We are all such admirers of your work. And I will react to the Spanish movie, because long time I saw Slumdog Millionaire. And I would say that actually it's a wonderful movie. I think we all agree with that. It gives me a lot of mixed feelings as a Spaniard, as a Catalan also, But I would like to say, that the Spanish Civil War was a major historical event. And that my generation, I was born in '59, we didn't live through the Spanish Civil War. But my generation, still, we have the memory of a living memory of the Civil War that was passed by our parents. And I could explain you so many stories of the Spanish Civil War told by my mother and my parents. All of us had grandfathers that were put into jail, that were perhaps condemned to death penalty. After perhaps they were pardoned, because there was also, after years, pardon was also there. But the Spanish Civil, all wars are terrible. Still are people in this world that think that wars are glorious. That waging a war is defending your country and fighting for honor. But wars are very dirty. All wars are very dirty. What happens there, it's really a carnage, and the wars of people comes out in a war. And I would say, if wars are dirty, civil wars are even more dirty. Because in a civil war, your neighbor will denounce you. And all of us have stories of how that happened in Spanish villages. And you have seen it here, how that wonderful teacher, in front of the power of fascism, he was denounced by everybody. So these were, in myself, all these feelings in Spanish awaken up when one sees this kind of movie. And I will finish with a reflection. I say mixed feelings, because about 1 month ago, and we presented here the book Don Quixote in Kashmiri language, okay, which was translated back in 36. Imagine, 1936, a pandit from Srinagar, Nityanand Shastri, translate the Don Quixote into Kashmiri. Not full part of it. He had done previous version in Sanskrit, okay. But I am saying this because on that day we had a very special guest in this scenario, which was Dr. Karan Singh. Dr. Karan Singh is about 95 years old. And in that session he touched my heart, because he made a plea to the West, to all the big powers of the world. He said in front of everybody that he never thought, because he is 95 years old, that he would see again a state of all-out war as we are going today now. And he was really touched, because he said, I never thought that after World War II, we would see again all these wars, creeping up everywhere. And this is my mixed feeling, I really pray that the people that we saw in this movie never come again. Thank you.
And I guess that's why storytelling becomes important. It's a reminder of how history should not be repeated. I think I'm just going to go closer to Patricia. This is a new experience. In case I'm not on the floor, please. Patricia, hi. Patricia, Yurik, thanks for your patience.
Don't worry.
I just want like the entire process of translating a book to screen are like very two distinct activities. One is the process of writing or reading the book, and then to translate that to something which we see visually on screen. Both of them are different mediums, but both are connected to the story they share. Can you share with us the challenges and the many perspectives each process brings? Especially because the author, everyone is also happens to be a co-producer of Concept.
Yeah, that's right. The author is Paco Escribano, who writes the book and co-produces the film. And also there is Alberga, who is the writer, the script writer. So between the three of us, we kind of get the final story. In my case, as I said before, it was a very strange process because it was backwards. Because I first read the script, it was already written, one draft. And after reading it, I start reading the book. And it's not supposed to be like that, but it just was like that. And but it was interesting too at the same time. I wouldn't recommend it, but anyway, it wasn't so bad because what I could see, first of all, it was what kind of movie they wanted, and after discover where did I came from with the book, and at the same time, the producer, having written the book, had so many information, extra information, much more than the book, the real story, and so it was very helpful to help us choose what to keep and what to take off from the real story to the script, because normally what happens is that you don't have the time to tell everything. There's much more in real life, so much more time, much more everything. And you have to concentrate all in just 1 hour and a half, maybe a little bit more, but that's it. So one of the challenges is to choose what do we say and how do we say it, and what do you think we can leave it out, because it can be everything. So the first process was to choose what within that script. Is there everything we wanted to say? Is there something else that's missing? Let's choose. And after that, the challenge of creating what we were not sure of, how was it? Because we did know a lot of the teacher's life, but of course there are some parts that we didn't know how they were. And I'm talking in those years in Bañuelos de Bureba, in the village. So, of course, there's always some parts that you have to create that are inventions, and that you have a big responsibility to be logical with what you're saying and respectful with the character, because he was a real person, of course. So it's a long time of researching and debating with Paco and Albert, and between the three of us, we got to the finals.
Yes. Il y a beaucoup de choses, je dirais beaucoup de choses en Patricia. La principale différence entre le livre et le film, c'est que le livre est écrit à la première personne, donc avec un narrateur au jeu. Et je crois que le temps d'un film, le temps du cinéma, c'est la troisième personne, c'est différents personnages, et il n'y a pas vraiment de narrateur, hormis dans le cas d'une voix off, mais quand bien même, le temps d'un film, à mon avis, c'est la troisième personne, et c'est le présent. C'est-à-dire qu'on est toujours dans la situation, dans une scène. Donc il a fallu que les réalisateurs, puisque c'est eux, ils sont deux frères, c'est eux qui ont écrit le scénario, qui ont fait l'adaptation, transpose un récit à la première personne et au passé en une histoire à la troisième personne et au présent. Donc, qu'il fabrique des scènes. Parce que parfois, dans le roman, il y a des aspects de l'histoire qui sont racontés un peu vite et qui ne peuvent pas être transcrites telles quelles au cinéma. Donc il a fallu imaginer des scènes dialoguées. Il y a peu de dialogue dans le livre et il y a eu besoin de fractionner le récit en scènes. Ensuite, le livre se déroule sur 25 ans. Et là aussi, c'était un défi de réduire 25 années de vie en 1h40 de film. Donc le film et le scénario a imaginé des élites qui ne sont pas présentes dans le livre. À un moment donné, Emmerich traverse une mauvaise passe. Dire que pendant 4-5 ans, il est assez déprimé. Et c'est quelque chose que je développe dans le roman. Au scénario, ils ont voulu essayer d'écrire ces scènes, mais ils se sont rendus compte, les réalisateurs se sont rendus compte que ça créait un creux, une baisse de tension. Et ils ont fini par totalement faire abstraction de ces moments et par faire une grande ellipse. Donc à un moment donné, ils mettent un carton 3 ans plus tard et voilà, ils sautent par-dessus peut-être 20 ou 30 pages du livre. Après, il y a eu des petites différences qui sont liées même au choix de casting. C'est-à-dire que dans le roman, Emmerich et Florence ont 15 ans d'écart. C'est plus âgé de 15 ans qu'Emmerich. Moi, j'aimais bien l'idée d'une histoire d'amour entre un jeune homme et une femme plus âgée. Le réalisateur aussi, d'ailleurs, a été intéressé par l'idée, sauf qu'au moment du casting, je n'ai pas trouvé... les deux acteurs qu'ils ont choisis étaient trop proches en âge pour que cet élément soit conservé. Là où ils ont été très fidèles, c'est sur les lieux, dont je vous ai parlé tout à l'heure. Les lieux où j'ai grandi, ce sont les lieux du roman, et ces lieux sont devenus les lieux du... Parce qu'ils ont tourné dans les lieux du livre. D'ailleurs, c'est à cet endroit-là que je suis intervenu, parce que je n'ai pas travaillé sur le scénario, mais je leur ai permis de faire des repérages. Je leur ai présenté les lieux du roman. Et ils auraient pu transposer l'histoire dans une autre campagne ou une autre montagne, mais ils ont souhaité être fidèles à cet aspect-là du livre.
I'll just say. There are a lot of similarities between what Patricia said and what I also feel. The main difference between the book and the film is that the book has been written in the first person. I, me, the narrator is there, but in the film, there is no narrator anymore. It's a different person, it's the third person, and it's always the present, whereas the book can go through the present, past, future, etc. Two brothers are the ones who directed the film, and they wrote the scenario. So this was the main difference. In the film, it was in the third person and in the present. So they had to create scenes with dialogues. They had to imagine it. So these were new things that were introduced. There were very few dialogues in the book as such. Another aspect is that the book covers 25 years of story of the characters, and it's very difficult to narrate 25 years of life in a film which will last about 1 hour 40 minutes. So some new inventions had to be made. For example, in the book there is a period when Emmerich is very depressed and he goes through a low. They wanted to retain it, but then finally decided not to keep it in the film. They just did a jump of 20 to 30 pages of the book, moved ahead in time. In the book, Emmerich and Florence had 15 years of age gap. Florence is older than Emmerich by 15 years. I really wanted to write a love story between a younger man and an older woman. I really liked it. But then when during casting, it was difficult for the makers and they chose actors of a similar age. But one thing which was really true to the book was the setting. They filmed it in the exact same place that I wrote about, and I introduced the place to them.
Thank you. Mr. Soru, we would like to add, because in your process, I mean, just to give an idea, in France and Spain, both these countries have a very robust publishing culture, of course, but more importantly, a reading culture and also an adaptation to screen culture. In India, actually, rarely do we see authors, it's a fight actually to even get credits. It's not happened in your case. One, principally because the first one was made by a British filmmaker. And apart from credits, people just want to disengage the authors completely from the process of making the film. Was it the case with both the ones, which is a film and a series, very distinctively different models? What has your experience been? Do you prefer that, or do you prefer a more engaged space like that?
So in my case, what happened, Padmapriya, was I wrote the book in 2003, it was published in 2005, and the film rights were taken in 2004, 1 year before the book was even published. And that itself tells you the big difference with India. That in the West, the book publishing industry and the film industry are very closely interrelated. In fact, most literary agents also work directly with film studios, and they immediately send out manuscripts which they feel are cinematically adaptable to the film studios directly. In India, we don't have that.
Perhaps that affects book sales also, right?
Yeah, you see, because the book reading culture is much more vibrant in the West. I mean, there in America, to get into a bestseller, you have to sell at least 50, 60,000 copies. In India, we are a nation of 1.5 billion people. 5,000 or 10,000 books is a bestseller here. And that's the reason. And the second problem is, in India, we produce movies in a lot of languages. But the main problem with Bollywood is, they operate mainly through English. In fact, even the scripts are written in English. And because we don't have a very robust culture of translation, many of fantastic novels written in the vernacular, in Punjabi, in Tamil, in Telugu, in Odia, in Bengali, they do not get mediated through the English language at all. And as a result, people miss out on that because we do not have a very robust culture of translation. And the third and most important factor is, Bollywood is still wedded to, original screenplays and the tropes, the formulas, lost and found or whatever. And books, they feel, would be too risky. So I think these are the reasons why we do not see that many adaptations of books into films in India as we see in the West. Having said that, my own experience to relate to that, as I said, the film rights were taken in 2004, and then I met Simon Beaufoy, who was to write the screenplay. And he said, he loves my book, it's a fantastic book, but he flat out told me that, look, all the stories in your book will not go into the film simply because we just don't have the budget for it. For instance, in my book, there was one of the questions pertained to the India-Pakistan war. And he says, war scenes are very, very difficult and very expensive to film, so we'll have to cut out that story. But he made me a promise that I'll remain faithful to the soul of your novel. And I think that is a promise that has largely been fulfilled, because the USP of the book was the narrative structure. It was a new way of telling a story. Nobody had ever told a story through the medium of a quiz show. And I think the same narrative structure is copied in the film as well. Of course, they cut out a number of the stories and added some stories of their own. But the narrative structure was largely retained. So in conclusion, I would say a good adaptation of a novel into a film is a bit like renovating a majestic old house. When you renovate the house, you have to retain the original character of that house, the charm that made it so special. But you will reimagine some new structures, some old rooms may be torn down, some new rooms may be built, so that it becomes welcoming for a new generation of family and friends. So that is what a good adaptation.
Could you just add to about 6 Suspects as well? Because that's an Indian production.
6 Suspects I had, so with Q&A, once they took the rights and they showed me the screenplay, because I had creative control, I was able to make some corrections. For instance, this is a secret I'm sharing, in the first draft of the screenplay, it was about 2 Muslim brothers, two brothers. One was called Ram and one was called Salim. And I said, in India you don't have Ram and Salim in one family. So that's when Ram became Jamal, I suppose. But after that, they had nothing to do with the writer at all. In fact, I only discovered that this shooting has started when I read a small report in Amar Ujala that the producers of this film were arrested in Agra for shooting at the Taj Mahal without permission. And that's when I realized that, okay, they have started shooting. The experience with Six Suspects was the opposite. There, the producer was a big fan of my work and she wanted me very closely involved with the adaptation. So I had many sessions with her. I was even invited to the shooting. And I understood that when you adapt a book into a series, a lot of new elements will have to be brought in, some elements will have to be chopped off. But on the whole, I think they did it with my full approval, with my permission, and taking me on board. That was the difference.
Okay. Because we are with you, we're going to follow up with the next question, and then I'll open it up to the audience for questions. All your stories, actually all the three films, and your book have very strong, distinct female voice, even if they're not protagonists.
Not in the first one.
But they have very distinct female like not a protagonist, but distinct female voice.
Well, in the sense, his main motivation to go on to the quiz show was to take revenge for what had happened to his girlfriend.
Yeah. So, do you want to say how does that evolve? Whether it was in not just that, but even otherwise?
Yeah, you see, after that, in Six Suspects, I wrote one character entirely in the female perspective. And then my third novel, The Accidental Apprentice, I wrote entirely from the female perspective. It's a first-person narration by a 23-year-old girl called Sapna Sinha. And in my latest novel, The Girl with the Seven Lives, it's a story of a 25-year-old baby. So somehow, this female protagonist appeals to me because I think you get a 2-for-1. Because the element of strength and resilience and also the element of vulnerability. And I think female characters are much more complex, are much more appealing than a macho male character. For me, I think female characters, to me, are much more appealing than simple male characters.
Oh my God, I'm going to shut my mouth here. But given what we make in India, it comes from a deeply patriarchal space. But Patricia and Pierrick, do you want to say how, like Pierrick, in your film, Florence plays such an important role, and it'd be lovely to see how. I understand now that it is from your real life. But it'd be lovely to see how you kind of shaped Florence's character and how you see women in around you and how that influences your writing. Patricia, if you can also allude to it, because even in your film, one of the protagonists, the mayor's daughter, all of them are very significantly beautiful characters. If you can speak, both of you speak to that. Pierrick, if you want to take first again, go ahead.
Oui, c'est vrai que Florence a un rôle très important dans le film. D'ailleurs, je recommence par le récit de la vie de Florence sur une dizaine de pages, et Émeric, qui est donc le narrateur, n'intervient qu'au bout de ces 10 pages. Florence, je pense que c'est un personnage féminin parce qu'il est complexe, parce qu'il n'est pas forcément toujours aimable, mais j'espère qu'on la comprend et qu'on ne la voit pas comme une figure manipulatrice. En tout cas, moi, je la comprends. En tout cas, j'ai des éléments pour comprendre les choix qu'elle fait, qui sont parfois durs, et précisément pour Jim. Et pour revenir à votre question de manière plus générale, je crois que... Moi, je dirais qu'Émeric est un homme très féminin. Mais ça, c'est quelque chose que je travaille dans tous mes livres, et qui est présent dans les films des frères Larieux, les deux réalisateurs, puisqu'on y retrouve toujours des héros masculins sensibles, fragiles, qui sont impliqués dans l'éducation de leurs enfants, par exemple. Et j'ai ce souci-là d'écrire des livres dont les héros masculins ne sont pas hégémoniques, ne prennent pas toute la place, ne parlent pas plus fort que les autres. Voilà, des hommes qui hésitent, des hommes qui doutent, des hommes qui culpabilisent, qui regrettent, s'excusent, et puis qui écoutent les autres, voilà, qui sont vraiment à l'écoute. Ça, c'est quelque chose qui m'est très important.
Yes, Florence has a very important role in the book and in the film. In fact, the first 10 pages of the book narrate Florence's life before the narrator steps in. She is a very complex person, not always a nice person, but I understand her and I understand the choices she has had to make, which were difficult choices, especially vis-a-vis her child, Jim. Emmerich, on the other hand, to speak about the book and the film, is a very sensitive man, we can say an effeminate man, very sensitive, fragile. I like describing men like that who are not very hegemonic, who get involved in bringing up the child, men who are capable of saying sorry, who are attentive to people's needs, who listen, who feel guilty, etc.
Patricia, do you want to respond before we open to the audience?
Yes, about the female character in the teacher movie. Well, what happened is that at first, and in the book, actually, there was no female character. It was only the story of the teacher. In the book, you don't have the rebel. So, when we were working on the script, at some point we found out that there was something missing, that we needed to talk about something else that wasn't there, which is the story that happens in the present, okay, not in the past. And that we felt like it was the time to talk about all these people that are disappearing in these coming waves all over Spain. And the book wasn't really talking about it. And we had the feeling that it was a good story to talk about it and bring the past to the present as a way of give it some actuality to the movie. That was when we decided to create a co-protagonist, another main character, and it was kind of natural to think of a woman for doing that because we already had a man in the past, and we didn't really think about much. We just thought, yeah, let's have one pitch, and so we can explore many different things between both, and the contrast. There's always a contrast between the past and the present of the movie. It's like two movies in one. So one of the contrasts that the main characters are so different from one to another, because the teacher is so positive and energetic, and in contrast we have this depressive woman, always sad, always angry, and we wanted to play that game all the time.
Thank you. We open up to the audience, so just be as precise as you can and please tell us your name and whom the question is addressed to.
Greetings everyone. First of all, a fabulous movie over there, and I have a few set of questions. My first question is, so as the social media has crept in our life, there's been a rising debate over the artistic freedom of expression and the people's sensitivity towards their religion, culture and their thoughts. So what do you think about this? Is there a need to be a line to be drawn regarding this, a boundary to be drawn for the people to respect their culture and the artistic freedom of expression? And my second question is to Patricia.
Is this for Mr. Swaroop?
Anyone of the panel, please. But I would like if he gives the answer.
Okay.
And my second question, particularly to Patricia ma'am, is that how did you came to around the title of the movie, that is the teacher who promised the sea? Like, he was a real person, he had his whole story, but why there's still a significant emphasis on the sea as the title? And another question is that do you think there's need to be a more intercultural insight between different film industries in different countries? As we see, like the Western movies have a rather large audience in the different over all the globe, and still like we see that there's different stereotypes of Asian people, African people. If they need to be a Asian scene, they'll put on yellow filters and so on. And there's allegation of stereotype types. So what do you think? Like, is there need to be a much more greater understanding between different film industries regarding different cultures?
Do you want to address that to any particular person in the panel?
Patricia, ma'am, because she's a filmmaker.
Okay, fine. Patricia, we'll come back to you. I'll repeat the questions for you. But Mr. Swaroop and Oscar, Mr. Oscar, do you want to respond?
Yeah, that's a very relevant question that you have asked, because indeed, not just India, I think all over the world we have become the outrage society. Anything and everything outrages us now. And that's why we are seeing so many trends where a film just about to be released, somebody is protesting. I mean, even a film like Billu Barber, apparently the Hairdressers Association protested and said, why are you calling us barbers, and things like that. So I think that's become almost an industry now, how to stop a film's release. Thankfully on books, so far we have not seen that much, because maybe we don't have that much of a reading culture. And that's why, people, they burn a book even without having read it or something like that. But that needs to be stopped. I really feel, as the world's largest democracy, we should have the artistic expression to talk about, factors that affect us or impact on society. But at the same time, because we are such a multi-religious, diverse country, I think where is this line between respecting the sentiments of particular communities and cultures and artistic freedom? I think that is a very fine line. And I think we only need the courts to step in, because, there is no manual which says you can say this and you cannot say that. The only thing that the criminal code says is you cannot say anything which outrages the sentiments or causes communal disharmony and things like that. But what causes communal disharmony is again left to the judgment of people. So I think that's a thin line. We need to traverse it very carefully. But the sooner we have a particular mechanism in place which clearly decides. I mean, we are supposed to have the censor board as the final arbiter, for instance, for movies. That once the censor board has cleared it, they have taken out all these so-called objectionable elements and the movie is set for release. But we have seen that even the censor board is not seen as the final arbiter. Movies which are cleared by the censors, lead to street protests, etc., and then once again the movie is banned and things like that. So yes, I think it's an ongoing issue and we need to deal with that.
Well, if I understood well, the question was about outrage and censorship. Okay. We know a lot about this in Spain. Not now, because now we are a democracy and there is no problem of that. But actually, I mean, we live 40 years under a dictatorship. And I just would say a very simple thing. And I hope Instituto Cervantes next year organizes, we have done this already, but we will invite all of you to see the movies of a Spanish filmmaker who worked during Franco's regime. His name is Berlanga. Very well known by all. And you see the movies by Berlanga because he was a master of bringing messages against the political regime without the political regime notice, but the public was noticing. So he was very clever, in playing the censorship. And I really, and that's a way, of course, I mean, censorship should not be there. I think we have progressed a lot from that, and obviously. But there are ways of sending your messages, even when censorship is very strong.
It is simple. It was already the name of the book. I didn't choose it. It was chosen by Paco Escribano. It was so beautiful. We didn't even think about changing it.
Second question is, what do you think about stereotypes of characters in movies, especially different origins like Asian, South Asian?
What do I think in general? Well, it can be an extensive answer, but in general, I think of course, a lot of things, and these two need to be revisit nowadays in our actuality. As for roles of not only what you just mentioned, but only women, and in general, I do think that it's been a long time in the history of cinema that have been stuck in one point and there was no evolution. But I do think that now people is asking for this evolution. But I'm not seeing it changing as fast as people's minds it is changing now. So I guess in general, it is very hard to speak such in general because I'm talking about the whole world. But I do think that in general, the productions, big productions come from where the money comes from. I think they do need to listen at least, and figure out what people is asking for.
Thank you. We will take just a couple of questions more before we
Good evening, sir.
I thought Oscar had a question. Yes.
Good evening, sir. Buenas tardes, señor. Primero, yo creo que hablas que la película es muy fantástico y muy amable. Secondly, sir, my question from both of you. Oscar sir, how you think that these European films and this European festival have an impact on cinema watching audience in India, and how it will be influential to us, sir? And same question for Vikas sir. How you think this from Indian point of view, and Oscar sir, how you think from European point of view? Thank you, sir.
Well, I think festivals like the European Film Festival are very, very important because the single biggest thing we need in today's world is intercultural understanding. And intercultural understanding can only be fostered, when you are exposed to other cultures, other communities, other viewpoints. And the two best mediums for, exposing people to other cultures, other communities are films and books. Films in particular because they are the ultimate mass medium. So that's why I think a film festival like the European Film Festival, I'm told that there are 27 countries in the European Union and there are 28 films, one from each country, being screened here. So that itself, somebody who has never been to Estonia doesn't have any clue as to what Estonia is all about. Just by watching one film set in Tallinn or some city in Estonia, telling you about the ordinary life of an Estonian worker, can give you so much insight into what that part of the world looks like. And also, it unites you because you realize that they also have the same dreams, desires and aspirations that we have. So from that point of view, these kinds of film festivals really foster a sense of inclusivity.
I completely agree with you say. We also do an Indian Film Festival in Madrid, okay? So I think it is very necessary to share our culture. I always say, that the beautiful thing about, humanity is only one, and we are all the same in the end. All these divisions, in fact, are historical and sometimes artificial divisions, but human experience is one and the same, because basically we are the same kind of people. And I always say that we should, share our similitudes and enjoy our difference, because there when we find joy in seeing something different. And I would like to say these festivals are a must for everybody, because unless you know the other, you tend to believe all kind of strange things about other people, right? And I would like to say one thing. You see the progression of humanity. And we were tribes, we came into nations, okay? And now we are nations. But we are nations, and we're in a special, very important period of history, because if globalization is really something true, and not just a brand or a name, it means, that like European Union is trying, to go beyond the concept of a narrow little nation, in a corner of the planet Earth, to become a continent of 27 different countries. India is the same, because India, how many European countries find room inside India? I mean, each one of your states has more people than many European countries. So India itself, a kind of European Union in its own. I always say that India and Europe share the same motto, which is unity in diversity. And what is happening today, and I think, and these festivals, you know, this is soft power. This is the power who is going to heal all the hate that is going around now. Because as very well said, you know, all this closure about outrage, this is, you know why this is happening. You know why all this much outrage everywhere is happening today? Because we are in a time of transition. We are in a time of transition from narrow nations to a real planetary, you know, understanding. But still, you know, we cling to the old tribes, to the old nations. And now it's the time, it's really the time through culture, through sharing differences, to enjoying also our similitudes, is the time to slowly, without renouncing, you know, to our own culture, to build this planetary culture, where I hope all this outrage will go down a little bit. Now the outrage is because an old world is dying, and the new world still hasn't born, right? So we don't have the past world, and we don't have the new world. We are in between. And that creates a lot of insecurity and a lot of reaction trying to, you know, to bring back, you know, the old securities which are no longer there. But it's clear that if globalization continues at this pace, you know, and I think that the new securities will be much comprehensive and much more embracing the whole humanity.
Thank you. There is someone.
Excuse me. Hi, my name is Arvind. I'm 33 years old. I'm a lawyer. So when Oscar sir, the question is for you, and there's a second back question to Ms. Patricia. So when I'd gone to study sports law in Madrid in January 2017, I was staying in Madrid, and I had the privilege of going to Barcelona as well and some provinces in Catalonia. But then what I had experienced in my close to like 8 months of staying in Spain was that there are very overt displays of discord between the Catalonian movement and people who were staying in Madrid, and also sometimes latent displays of, you know, displeasures or disagreements. But when I came back to India, I saw the real protests happening with respect to the Catalonian separatist movements all around Spain. And what do you actually think that movies like this would actually help the cause when it comes to like solving the situation and supporting the cause of whatever can be the best solution when it comes to like the Catalonian movement as a whole? And my question to Ms. Patricia is, do you think movies like this make you empowered, and also there's a more inherent moral responsibility to basically solve the crisis, which is the Catalonian situation, all across Spain, and maybe separatist policies or ideas all across Europe or other sections of the world?
No, I'm sorry. Hello? What? Yes, thanks. Yes, I can hear you, sorry.
Can actually, use the tension and maybe to more on solving the Catalonian situation in Spain, and also similar sort of protests or ideas that happen across other sections of the world and Europe.
Okay, let me see if I understood well. You're asking me if I think that it has a relationship between the situation in Catalonia and Spain with my movie?
Not just that,
Oh.
have more clarity on other similar protests in Europe and across other countries of the world?
Well, I don't think. Well, I don't know. It's just my opinion. But since the purpose and the thematic of the film is not about that, I don't think it can actually do anything about it, because it is not. My intention, our intention, was not to make a political film, although of course always the historical context and the political context makes it political. But we were talking about human emotions, real people, and what happened in 1935. So beyond that, we were not actually placing anything in Catalonia. The fact that he is Catalan, it's because he was actually Catalan, but he could be from anywhere in Spain. So the Catalan thing stuff, it's not, for me, it's not in the movie. I don't think it can cause anything in that, that process, Catalan process. And after 1 year that the movie has been in, we opened it in 1 year ago, I can tell that nothing has changed because of this movie, of course.
I mean, okay, the question of the problem between, Catalonia or Basque country in Spain is very old. It's not going to be solved in 1 or 2 years. No movie is going to solve that. That's very clear. But we are used to that. We are, and I would say that the most acute phase of the independentist movement, it's gone right now. It's gone now. The big debate in Spain is not between Catalonia and the rest of Spain. I would rather say that now the big discussion is taking place in Madrid itself. More between right-wing parties and left-wing parties. So right now, the situation in Catalonia is not news in Spain. Right? Maybe it comes again news after 2030, who knows. But right now, the tension we had for 10 years, from 2012 to 2000, and less than 10 years, 2019, I would say after COVID, everything, more or less disappeared. It's no longer there as it was. No? So that's the situation has changed very much.
Oui, bonsoir Pierrick, ciao Patricia, thank you to be here, and I was here in the among the audience listening, all of you, thank you very much. I just Pierrick, je peux aussi parler en français, mais je parle en anglais parce que tu es un très bien interprète. When we have talked to this meeting today, it was of course about the translation between books to the screen, but we have thought that you three, Vikas, Pierrick, Patricia, your films that are very, very different, of course, but the three of them shape a character, one of the character that is the protagonist of 3 films that are some similarity. In particular, they show person, human being that are real pure in their heart. In the middle of a world are completely overwhelmed by violence, exploitation, in the past and in the present days, your characters find different way, as already Pierrick has told about some kind of also female dimension of his main character, but also of course Jamal and of course the teacher. So I start to Pierrick. When you have taught to your film, to your book, and then you have, I know that you have tried to reach the 2 directors because you wanted that that was there, them, to direct that. What was the goal that you wanted to join with this character?
that was clear. I don't know.
Did you get it?
Oui, je vais vous répondre à partir de ce que je peux. Et heureusement, je remercie Padma qui est prête et impeccable, qui m'écrit sur WhatsApp. Ce que je peux dire, c'est que oui, ce narrateur, ce héros Émeric a une caractéristique assez singulière, c'est qu'il est gentil. Alors bon, il est loin d'être parfait, mais je voulais vraiment créer un personnage principal qui soit sain ou même qu'on puisse qualifier de bon d'un point de vue moral. Un homme animé d'attention plutôt saine à l'endroit des autres. D'ailleurs, ça devient presque son défaut. On pourrait dire qu'il est trop gentil, trop prévoyant, trop protecteur, trop prudent. Ça devient, voilà, c'est vraiment sa particularité. Il y a beaucoup d'histoires qui explorent l'aspect misérable des hommes et typiquement du masculin. Et ça peut être intéressant d'avoir ces personnages dont on apprécie ou dont on admire la capacité d'autocritique, leur lucidité sur leur petite misère, sur leur côté un peu minable. Mais là, je ne voulais pas aller dans ce qui est presque un cliché de la littérature française actuelle, c'est-à-dire l'homme qui reconnaît ses tares, ses défauts et qui les assume. Là, je voulais vraiment avoir un héros qui soit plutôt bon, qui soit plutôt doux, gentil, et essayer de voir où ça l'emmenait. Et il se trouve que le déroulé de l'intrigue tient beaucoup à la personnalité d'Émeric. C'est-à-dire qu'à un moment donné, on aurait pu imaginer qu'Émeric, tel un héros de film américain, remue ciel et terre pour aller retrouver Jim au Canada. Sauf qu'Émeric, pour des raisons qui sont liées à son caractère, mais aussi des raisons sociologiques, c'est-à-dire c'est quelqu'un qui n'a jamais pris l'avion, qui n'a pas d'argent, qui n'a pas le réflexe d'acheter un billet d'avion, de traverser l'Atlantique et d'aller chercher à obtenir ce qu'il estime lui dû. Et donc, à un moment, il se retrouve comme pétrifié. Est-ce qu'il est trop gentil? Est-ce qu'il est trop passif à ce moment-là? C'est des questions, à mon avis, que les spectateurs peuvent se poser en voyant le film. Mais je pense un peu comme la dimension presque manipulatrice de Florence, je pense qu'il y a des éléments pour comprendre les réactions d'Émeric dans le film. Quand vous découvrirez le film, je pense que ce sera plus parlant, plus clair pour vous. Car il me semble que le film est projeté vendredi, c'est ça?
Montrer le 6 novembre. The film will be screened on 16 November.
Padma, do you want to thank?
Yes, when I wrote when I wrote my book, I deliberately chose to make Émeric a very kind person. Though he's far from being perfect, he is very healthy, he is very good from a moral point of view. He is attentive to others and their needs, and this also ends up probably becoming his defect because he is too prudent, he is too protective, he thinks too much of other people. In contemporary French literature, there are too many stories which depict men as being miserable creatures who, this is almost like a cliche, who are able to do a lot of self-criticism with a lot of lucidity on their own miserable, character. So I wanted to do the opposite. I wanted to create a man who is soft-natured, who is nice, to see where he would land by being like all this. In fact, just like in American films, At a stage, Emmerich, he moves the skies and the earth to go to find Jim in Canada. But because of his own shortcomings, because of his sociological background, his nature, he ends up at one stage being petrified. Is he too nice? Is he too passive? Spectators will judge while watching the film, especially when they oppose his character with Fluorosis, who is a more manipulative person. I will let the spectators be the judge.
Great. Thank you so much, Pierre. I want to close this question with a quick rapid fire. One question. Only one question. Oscar, you are a translator as well, so please chip in. If you could spend time with any character from any of your books or your movies, Patricia, who would it be and what would you do with them? You're a translator, you could pick up Mahabharata's characters.
Such a difficult question. We love all the characters. How to choose one?
Do you want to first take it, Mr. Srobe? And then we'll give some time to Oscar.
Yes, so in my second book, Six Suspects, it's a murder mystery in which 6 people are discovered with guns in their possession at a place where a murder has been committed. So they become the 6 suspects. So I think the most interesting suspect of them was a character called Eketi, who comes from the Andaman Islands. People who still hunt with bows and arrows. And he comes to mainland India in search of a missing relic. So I think he would be the most interesting character for me to spend some time with, just to understand their worldview, because these are people who he has never seen a shopping mall. He has never seen a train. Probably he has seen a plane because it flies overhead. But these people have never seen a shopping mall, they've never seen a train, they do not know what is modern civilization. And I suppose he will teach us that you call them uncivilized, but actually they are much more civilized than us.
Patricia, which is the character you would like to escape with, and what would you do with them?
Okay. I guess in my case, I would love to go and do these classes with a teacher, and I do teach myself here in the cinema school, so I enjoy it a lot. Although I'm not a real teacher, but I like teaching, so I would love to share the teaching classes with the teacher.
Thank you.
Oui, vous allez découvrir le film bientôt. Et à la fin du film, Jim a 25 ans et emmène Emmerich faire une espèce d'escalade, on appelle ça de la via ferrata. C'est de l'escalade un peu plus sécurisée. Vous verrez que Emmerich, mon beau-père, n'est pas du tout à l'aise sur les falaises. Moi, j'adore la montagne. Je fais un peu d'alpinisme, je fais de l'escalade et des via ferrata, donc j'adorerais accompagner Jim, quand il a 25 ans, en falaise, en haute montagne.
You will be discovering the film soon, and you will see that at the end of the film, Jim is 25 years old, and Jim and Emmerich set off for a hike in the mountains. It's a secured hike because Emmerich is not very comfortable hiking, etc. As far as I'm concerned, I love the mountains, I love trekking, hiking. So when Jim would be 25 years old, I would love to accompany him in the high mountains and hike with him.
Thank you, Perek. Yes,
Okay, I'm ready.
Huh?
I am ready.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Now, if you ask me about the movie, I am in love with Antonio Banajas. He's an absolute city. I wish I had him as a teacher when I was a kid. and if you ask me about the Mahabharata, one of my favorite characters is called Satyavan. And you all know what that means. And why Satyavan? Satyavan, in the Adi Parvan of the Mahabharata, there is a beautiful history, it's the dialogue between Satyavan and Dyumatsena. Satyavan is a prince, and Dyumatsena is the old king. And this prince, Satyavan, see how people are being taken to be executed. The people who are in the death penalty role, and there are many people who are going to be executed and given the death penalty. Remember that this is not now, this is more than 2,000 years ago, the Mahabharata. And then Satyavan tells his father, Papaji, Papaji. He doesn't say so, of course. But he says, why are you putting all these people to death? Why are you killing these people? And the father says they're criminals, they're bad people. And then Satyavan says an incredible thing. He begins to say, please, punish them any way you want, but never kill them. He says, when you kill a person, you don't only kill a person, you kill also his wife, his children, etc. Now, this is a wonderful film, and I am saying this because as far as I know, and I don't know, I may be corrected, in my opinion, this is one of the first allegate against death penalty that the world knows. And the West is very proud of beginning to fight death penalty already in the 18th, 19th century, okay? But you here in the Mahabharata already were advocating against death penalty, and that's why I like Satyavan.
Thank you, Patricia Pierre. We would have loved to have more questions, but it's a very short session. Thank you so much for your patience in having you here with us. Thanks, Swaroop. Thanks, Oscar. A big thank you to the entire audience for your patience and love. And thanks to EUFF India for giving us this platform and for me to having spent time with all of you. Thank you.